Welcome to our webinar today. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Today's topic is maximizing the marketing moment. And how we're going to run this program is that I'm going to do a very brief introduction to the topic, high-level overview, and then I will hand over to Aditya Save, who is the CMO for Shadi.com. And he will share a practitioner's perspective and an omni-channel view. And then we have an expert session by Kiran Abjani, who heads the enterprise and digital marketing piece for IBM. So I am showing my screen, so I'm hoping that you can see the topic. And just get started. So I'm going to use a chat to interact with you all. So if you have questions, just put it onto chat, and you can ask me the questions there. Right now, I want to start with how many of you have used an Uber or an Ola? I guess most of you. And what they've actually done is, a taxi is a taxi is what we were used to. But now, if you look at it, a taxi is different when you are getting wet in the rain. A taxi is different if your battery is dying on your phone and you're in a desperate rush to get one. Your taxi is different if you are just coming out of an airport with a lot of luggage. And your taxi, again, is different if you are in, a major hurry. I have moved to full screen mode, so I hope you can see that. And what the taxi aggregators have done, and I leave aside all the cool stuff they're doing with tech, is that from a marketing perspective, they have managed to have you declare your urgency, and they have been able to segment their product in a matter of moments, right? And that's really what we're talking about today, is that the whole thing can change in a matter of just a moment. So my whole thing is, look, we're all talking about, the omni-channel piece and the channels, but what does it actually do from a marketing perspective is that your 4 Ps are not static. They change in just, again, the matter of moments. So if you look at it, I have an empty trolley when I start my cycle, and then I put stuff into it, and once I have put stuff into it, if I get a discount offer, I am very, very happy. But then I have reached home with my stuff, and now I get a discount offer for stuff that I had in my trolley. I am very upset with you because I paid more than I should have. So a split second of, 30 seconds after billing, and the same discount is not a good thing for me. Now let's assume I ordered for some stuff and it came home, but it came home broken. I am unhappy. But you sent me a gift replacement. I again am now happy. Now, supposing this wonderful product conks and needs repair, again, your position from being a great, reliable provider has gone down to I hate you, this thing does not work. So I'm very angry. You sent me some love in the form of, let's say, a value add or a discount. Again, I am happy. You send me a gift coupon and I proceed to buy something online, perhaps in a different country, and I repeat the cycle. What I want to emphasize here is that any of the 4 Ps, that is the price, the place, the product, the position, changes in the matter of a moment. I could be in a shop 1 second, outside the other. And previously, we did not have the ability to make use of this information, but now we do. And as marketers, then it's not just worrying about, do I sell online, offline, and is the experience uniform to the customer. We should also look at, for each of these, how will the 4P change, and then set up our systems to actually manage that. So this is one of my favorite slides. It's about how can social data help. And we've all filled up these feedback forms. Restaurants are notorious for asking you lots of information, and then you also feel that most of it has not been used, right? So how can social data help? So one is your product. What we can use with social data is I can individualize it. I can share only a subset, and I can make recommendations based on past usage. Pricing, again, we saw how cab guys do it beautifully. We can bundle it, we can give individual offers, and if your battery is dying, I can price it as per your desperation as well. The place where to sell, when to sell, it all varies. So when you're in a luxurious environment, you don't mind paying a little bit more. In an airport, you're used to paying a little bit more. So how do I actually do that? And based on where I am, you also you know you may be urgent in looking for something, you may be more relaxed, and I can do a lot of stuff with that. Similarly, for positioning segmentation, I can do a lot of changes, and the lead features that I talk about will vary based on the data that I have about you, and so will the messaging. And as a customer, if I have some information about you, I can make predictive offers based on your purchase history. I know how much of consumption you have, so I can customize the service level, and I can come to you with very special requests for advocacy. So basically, one of the challenges I think all of us as marketers face is that we have lots and lots of data. And how do we actually use that in a way that we can put together the four P's based on this rather large amount of data that we have? And I think the answer is to relook at our four P's in a contextual sense. And I know that Aditya also has a little bit more about context and relevance. So I wanted to share this model with you, which is the omni-channel customer. And essentially, it shows you all the ways in which you could present to the audience. And it also has a channel for the people, the process, and the tools or the platforms that would take in this data. And then we have in my view, if you actually have to run a good marketing program today, you need this essential stack of at least 10 pieces. And this is not, complete, but at least these 10 pieces you would need to have to make sense out of this huge amount of data that you have, and to present it to the customer in a way that adds value to them. And I think the challenge also that many of us are facing is that when we started our marketing systems, we did not have the access to this amount of data, and we did not, have systems that could manage this. But now we do, and we have to rebuild the system around that. So with this, I will hand over to Aditya. So Aditya is the CMO for Shadi.com, and I'm handing over the screen to him.
Thank you, Jesse. Can you change the slide, please? Great, thank you. So as a marketer, this is something that I have to be always aware of. Everything I say is biased by the things I see, I do, I experience, and a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this presentation comes from brands and companies that I have some interaction with. And so please expect a biased point of view. It need not be absolutely right all the time. Having said that, let me just share some initial thoughts. Next slide, please. So each of these is a subject of study in itself, right? But given the time and focus today, these are some thoughts that I just wanted to set up as context. It's almost like stating assumptions before you set up, let's say, an A/B testing. So the aim of all business is to ensure larger profit pools. Brands simply play a role in ensuring the profit pools exist for increase and exist for longer. Today's reality is that digital disrupts consumers and disrupts marketers, and that's the reason why maximizing the moments that digital makes available requires a lot of pre-work. There are a lot of tools that help you handle this disruption. There's design thinking methodology or a live consumer inciting process. But given the audience of marketers here today, I've chosen to not talk about those. I'm only going to talk about one marketing model that perhaps needs a revisit. So if you could just move to the next slide. So like I said, digital disrupts, and that's almost become a cliche. But cliches are essentially acceptable truths, right? So people don't dwell on how digital disrupts, but and how it changes that marketing funnel, and that's something we need to look at. Digital technology allows the marketer to have a scaled visibility of intent, and this is life changing because it allows focus on the right consumer segments right from the beginning. You must remember that India is still a TV driven country, and so mass market awareness is almost a given for existing brands, which is why I've kept it on the leftmost part of the slide. Uh, and that's perhaps done for most brands, most existing brands in the market. So the skill of the current marketing managers is in how they choose their audience basis intent and then deliver value to that business using the next three filters. You could probably think of the data that Jesse was talking about. Think of your data as being placed in different parts of these funnel, and that probably makes it more relevant. Um, Stepping back, it just makes sense to understand the relationship between these three filters. What I've done is, in the next slide, I've just placed it in a mathematical equation. Can you change the slide, please? So here it is. It's been a habit to try and simplify as much as I can, and I've tried to bring it down to one simple equation. Um, we've spoken of profit pools already. So the only way a brand can deliver its profit pool is if it sets itself up to be different from its competition and its category, right? That's the only way that you'll be able to charge more for the same uh, product or service from the same consumer. So preference for the brand becomes almost like a goal that every marketer has to drive. And we'll come back to that one. Digital ecosystems have made it very, very cost effective and sharp focused to progress down each element of this equation. Think of the consumer journey map that you are probably used to and superimpose it, if you will, superimpose that consumer journey map onto this equation from left to right. That's the flow of the process. So let's look at a few strategies and examples in each of these. Next, digital footprints allow skilled marketers to identify intent upfront. That's a big, big disruption that's happened in the past few years. The benefit of this is, I would say, twofold. One, it cuts the final cost of acquisition. And two, it allows smaller brands and smaller budgets to be competitive. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was not possible to have the number of small businesses that we have today who are competing with big brands in the same space. So the first big decision point on whether the intent is for the brand or is it for the category. You should probably understand the need hierarchy well and cater to it. Take an example of, let's say, e-stores of Tide and Tanishq, both from the same company. For watches, a category like watches, consumers might start their search from, say, a titan.in. But for diamonds, it might start from a search on Google Images for great designs. Converting this category intent into brand intent can come at an additional cost, and that's why marketers have to be really cognizant of it. We'll see in some of the slides later. The trade-off is with opportunities to sell premium end products, and that's why marketers need to be careful about it. The other big temptation to avoid is that of demographic definitions. So when most of us were in our MBA, we were taught about demographics as a great way of segmenting consumers, of identifying consumers almost. I think that's very old school, and in many cases it's outdated today. The kind of media proliferation and digital availability we have today in India means that aspirations are not bound by age or by geography. So if you sell branded running shoes or exercise wear like Nike tries to do in India, focusing on intent of use versus on demographic details can make a difference between successful campaigns and an also ran one, right? Google has a very, very nice article on thinkwithgoogle.com about why consumer intent is more powerful than demographics. I would suggest if you can get some time, try and read that up. Next one, please. So the next one I'm going to talk about is relevance. Jesse already touched upon this a little. An Uber and Ola make a cab look different when it's raining outside. So how you segment a consumer need not necessarily be basis just the person's past usage. It can be on that person's intent as well. Everyone already knows and understands intent from a traditional segmentation point of view. But in today's competitive world, you need to segment on intent, because the beauty is that digital marketing tools actually allow you to target multiple independent segments of consumers all at the same time. Traditional marketing is far more constrained and just doesn't allow you to do that. So I would say there are three principles which you should build on while looking at relevance for your brand. Firstly, what India are you building for? There are multiple Indias within the same country that we live in. There is this set of PLUs or people like us who have 3G phones, have access to a lot of Western media, have aspirations which are along those lines, for whom English is the first language of thinking. And then there are two or three other larger Indias. So which India are you really building this for? It's always possible to crisscross. So for example, there's a brand called Chumbak, which is a retailer in both in brick and mortar and they have an online store. And Chumbak uses design philosophies of interior India, rural India, what I call India 3 designs for an India 1 audience. And they make it work beautifully. The other thing to figure right now is mobile. I don't think there's enough literature around which tells you the impact of mobile in a market like India. And that's possibly something that we need to figure out brand by brand, opportunity by opportunity. For example, just the ability to use location to show only relevant content to the user can make a significant difference in your conversion. Harish Chawla has a very nice essay on foundingfuel.com, which talks about the multiple Indias, and you could probably read that up as a backup. The second thing is more here and now. Where is your consumer coming from, and what is that consumer looking for? So, for example, if a consumer comes from a product keyword, or if the consumer is coming from a pricing keyword, then the content you show, the landing page you show, ought to be different. It's not really something nice to do. It's something that is really, really necessary to do. Because unless that relevance sets in, your bounce rates are going to go up. The third thing Jesse also touched upon, which is your own data hides a lot of treasures. There are a lot of great analytics tools today in the market, and some of them can help you unlock the rich base of knowledge that you already have. If you look up your data sources for previous consumer conversations, for example, it can help you change conversions for the next round of downloads. The next slide covers a case study on a small brand called Daiki. So Daiki is a small startup that operates in the space of people discovery. And they figured that where their consumers were coming from, and even though it was a healthy conversion rate, just a small shift in their app store strategy helped them jump conversions by about 32%. Essentially, they shifted their consumers from doing an action on a new app kind of approach to searching for people, knowing what you're searching for on a new app kind of approach. So better context setting made it relevant for more people, the pool increased, and improved the conversions by 32%. So, Jesse touched upon so many moments that you get. All of this conversion shift happened in one day. The day the new strategy went live is the day the jump came in. And that's why, frankly speaking, I believe that there are so many such wins that are possible within the boundaries of existing campaigns and existing work that we do. You just need to think about it in a structured manner. The next thing I want to talk about is influence. So most of you have probably read Robert Cialdini's book on influence. If you haven't, I strongly recommend going through it. The honest truth is that everybody believes they are special and want to be treated that way, right? So when they interact with brands, they want brands that have stature. No one likes a me too in any category. But influence is tricky territory. You've got to figure out what your consumer is looking for, and not just at a superficial level. So at Shadi.com, we understand that under the garb of marriage and matrimony, what people really seek is companionship. There is a sense of meaning that they want for themselves, which they attach to another person. So as a brand, I'm not catering so much to matchmaking as I am to this inner need that consumers have. So all my orientation, all my communication, including home pages, social approaches, mass communication, everything moves only in that domain. Consumers who have intent in the category see the difference and latch onto it. The other one that Jesse also touched upon is social and blogs, right? People have been debating blogs from a SEO effectiveness perspective, but if you put up the intent filter, it's almost a must for brands to express their POV and have some sort of an opinion on the ecosystem. So it's very necessary for a brand to contribute to its because that's what big brands do, and that's what consumers expect from big brands. So at Shadi, we run a successful matchmaking business, but our social content strategy is about larger pursuits. It moves from relationships to self achievement to even campaigns that declare my conditions apply. The simple truth here is that a brand cannot lag a consumer anymore. It has to lead. That is the only way it will survive and thrive. Blog pages sometimes are the answers, sometimes are able to provide answers and make the brand look like it is ahead. There's a very recent case of Mukambo in Kolkata, if some of you are aware, right? Just one incident which was picked up from Facebook cost that well-known restaurant fairly heavily. On Zomato, for example, they have something like 7,000 reviews today, and the average rating for a well-known restaurant like Mukambo is 1.8. If you go through some of the top reviews, people are upfront stating that I have not even been to the place, but I'm reviewing it simply because of the perception that I've developed from what I saw of the restaurant on Facebook. So that's a double-edged sword that influence tends to have. The example that I'm showing in the next slide is from another brand, and this is more in the positive territory. So Shortcuts is a brand that works with other brands to create influence among Indian women consumers using their own me time as a medium. It works with over 15,000 salons in India, educating consumers about new launches and product lines. Everything from FMCG brands to personal electronics works with them. They end up influencing purchase behavior and purchase intent in a lot of categories. But in order to do this job well, Shortcuts needs to have influence on not only the consumer, but also on a fragmented salon industry. And it does this using technology. So what it does is it provides solutions to salon owner industry issues using affordable and scalable tech. And that is how it manages to win both ends. So consumers end up influenced by the newness of what they didn't know, and they learned via this medium. And salons end up running a tighter ship with far happier consumers. So so when Jesse was talking about happy consumers, unhappy consumers, angry consumers, then again happy consumers, you get to see a lot of those emotions running through if you ever visit a salon. The next thing, the last thing rather, I want to talk about is preference. Um, that's the right side of the equation. So consumer preference is for your brand is the key to your market share growth, and that in turn brings in larger profits. I think your creative approach should set the brand apart, even if the product portfolio is the same. So, for example, if you're an e-commerce store and you're selling pretty much the same footwear that everybody else is, lead with differentiation. Find some point of difference so that consumers find that footwear far more attractive on your platform than on anything else. As far as possible, try and find a real point of differentiation. Nothing allows a brand to express itself like its own content. The faster you think of yourself as a content brand, it's better. Personally, I think the brands are not structured the way marketing runs. Brands are not structured to be content producers. Just the DNA level built up is all wrong. But for now, suffice it to say that owning your content and using your digital channels to farm that intent can give you an ROI lift of up to 20%. The last thing I want to say is that consumers are willing to pay premium And that's always something you should test for, because it's a great way to know how strong your brand is. The only problem is that it varies for all brands and for categories. And given the tools available today, it's always possible to do A/B experiments for similar audiences with different price points, different parameters, just to understand what's the stretchability that your brand allows you. Social data can actually help you individualize the experience when you're putting these A/Bs. So, in summary, I just want to say three things. One is the fact that one is the fact that digital offers you opportunities, but only if you are ready before that moment arrives. The second thing is it's an unlikely pair, but data and content make a really great pair together for a marketer. They're really left hand and right hand combination for a marketer. And the last thing that none of us should ever forget is that consumers will always make irrational decisions, and they will always try to convince you that they're doing it very, very rationally. So that's all I had to share today. I hope the marketing model and the equation triggers some new thinking for some of you. All the best, and thanks for being such a wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, Aditya. I think that was a great session and gave us, a really good practitioner's view. Um, we will take questions on chat at the end, so if you could stay on, great. Otherwise, I will mail those questions and we can respond to them individually. So thank you once again.
Sure.
Our next presenter is Kiran, and he is the head of digital enterprise marketing for IBM. So over to you, Kiran, and I will now share your screen.
All right. Thanks, Jesse. I'm going to start off. Essentially, we heard a lot from Jesse and from Aditya on the digital disruption. What I'm going to try and focus on is what is it that marketers can do to really maximize the marketing moment given this digital disruption, right? Before we enter into that, I wanted to break the words down from maximizing the marketing moment. So if you move on to the next slide, let's look at the definition of moment, right, for a second. And as you can probably see on the screen, moment essentially means a lot of different things. It could mean a very brief period of time, short time, bit, minute, second, instant, a lot of these things, right? And essentially, the definition of a moment is relative to its context. So, for example, consider a consumer who is going in to buy a home versus buying a cell phone, or the same consumer who's going to buy a t-shirt or a USB drive. Their journeys and their moments of truth will vary, right? And obviously, in the context of marketing and maximizing the moment, or moments rather, for marketing, a 6 months or a year of engagement for the customer who's buying a home versus a 1 week engagement for one who's buying a cell phone would be relevant, right? And somebody who's making a decision just to buy maybe a USB drive, or someone who's looking to buy a t-shirt could make that decision within seconds, look online, probably search Flipkart and Snapdeal or relevant sites and pick up the one within seconds and check out, right? So while moment or moments of truth are relative to the product, I wanted to talk about point two that's written over here, essentially in context of moment also, right? The importance of these moments. So some moments are truly transformational and impact the whole world, while some of them are just ones that would impact certain industries. So I wanted to take a couple of examples and kind of just showcase how big this digital disruption is. First, as you can see on screen, this is the first big thing, right? Mobiles have actually taken over the world, right? Um, no other technology, including PCs, laptops, has ever shown such a penetration ever. And this is real disruption, right? This is fundamentally changing the way we will do business or commerce. And the last line on this slide is actually very important, right? Think about it. There are more customers who have access to mobiles and tablets than to banking services, right? Now, if you look at the impact of this statement just from an India context perspective, right? India has about 70% rural population. And even after all the efforts on Jan Dhan and financial inclusion that there's a large unbanked population. And this digital disruption actually opens up the gateways to reach out to this market or this population. In fact, it's not just rural population, right? If you look at even the urban population, a recent survey talks about, almost 72% of the millennials that say that, they would rather try to bank with companies like Google, Apple Pay, Paytm, especially for payment services and things like that, than a traditional bank like maybe ICICI or HDFC, which is fundamentally changing and disruptive for all of these traditional players. One other point that I wanted to talk about over here is that while there's an opportunity because now you've got a market which is untapped, there is also the complexity because of these multiple devices to try and get information together and get a single view of the customer, which is what I think Aditya talked about. Getting an omni-channel view and using big data to get insights about your customers. So this is a global, this is something that impacted a moment that impacts the entire world. Now, if you move on to the next slide, I'll talk about something that or impacted India. This happened about 2 weeks back. I'm sure all of you are aware and have seen this happen, right? The age of paying for voice calls is over. That was a big announcement made by Mukesh Ambani. This just happened 2 weeks back, right? And you can see the impact on the right-hand side of the slide. Essentially, it caused big number of lines for people trying to get hold of a Reliance SIM and also trying to get a new phone. Now imagine the opportunity over here because there are a lot of people who really don't have access to smartphones also, and being able to get that and being able to use them to connect for marketing is a great opportunity. But what I wanted to also point out is if you look at the impact of this big announcement on the moment of truth for the customers, you can see on Google Trends within a day, the impact was that there was 75% more people searching for either JioSIM, Reliance Jio, and it became one of the most searched keywords on the web, right? Which is amazing. And it was, this man, obviously Mukesh Ambani, understood the importance of his announcement because he announced this at the Reliance annual general meeting, and it was supposed to talk about the statistics of Reliance and how it fared. But 45 minutes of it, one hour was he was talking about Jio and the disruption it's going to cause, right? So that's really how important it is. But while this is important, let's see the impact of this moment and how it lasted, right? So if you move on to the next slide, right, we are also talking about maximizing the marketing, right? And as you can see, what really happened is while the announcement was made due on September 1st and September 2nd were great, within a week of the announcement, the number of searches they dipped as much as 30%, right? That's amazing because the moment of truth lasted hardly probably a day or two for such a big announcement, right? And that's how important moments are. Using these moments to maximize the value you can get from them is extremely critical, right? And the only way I believe that you can maximize is by providing an exceptional customer experience to your customers, right? Example of that is there on the next slide. So what happened is when I actually heard this announcement, I was excited. I downloaded the mobile app for Reliance Jio, and as you can see on the left hand side, this is a screenshot, right? And it's amazing because they provided so much convenience. They had a single button which you could click and install all the Jio apps, which included games, Jio Magazine, Jio Chat, Jio Video Play, and a lot of these things at a click of a button. Now imagine going to the Google Play Store or to the iOS Play Store and downloading each one of these apps and instead just being able to do it in one click, right? So that was extremely convenient. But then what happened is I started realizing that when I was trying to download these apps and I clicked on install all apps, I started getting the screen on the right hand side, right? Which basically said that please check your internet connection. I knew that my internet connection was working, because I was able to do WhatsApp, I was able to do Google search and so on and so forth. But yet it just didn't download those apps, and that sort of kind of created a really bad experience, right? And I can definitely say that it wasn't a issue with Reliance Jio, because I realized after talking to a couple of experts, friends in telco industry, that competition uh, had started blocking Jio's IP addresses so that consumers don't switch over, right? But what happened is, because of that, within a day I had uninstalled the app already, and it's been about 15 days. I never thought of reinstalling the app or ever, thought of going to a Reliance store and getting a SIM. But that's how important, while we're talking about maximizing the marketing moments, we should also think about how competition would react and try to kill the experiences that you have for your customers, right? And that's kind of what happened. So if you move on to the next slide, ultimately, it's all about, when you talk about maximizing the marketing moments, it's all about giving the right offer at the right time with the right product to the right customer, right? And Aditya talked a lot about how you can use big data to know more about your customers. But what I believe is, it's not just knowing more about your customers, it's about engaging with them at the right time with the right offer at the right channel, and being able to provide these delightful experiences, right? So if you look at these two, and if you just go one slide next, right, knowing more about your customers is like understanding things at a gross level and at a micro level. So how engaged are your customers? What are the bounce rates? Where are they coming from? What sites are they going to after they visit your website? How many of these customers are engaged in social media? These are gross level insights, great for forming a marketing strategy. But also at the bottom, as you can see, because of the number of touch points a single customer can be at, you would want to understand for every customer what is the right channel to approach, what is the right location, what time should I be sending these offers, and what would be the right product to give to them. And that's really important. So now what I wanted to do is, after this slide, just take you through one such experience at an individual level, which will show you the importance of giving a complete and wholesome omni-channel experience for the customer to really complete a sale for a product, right? I'm going from left to right. This is kind of a busy slide, but it gives you the complexity of the world in which we operate, right? We have digital channels, we have offline channels, we have channels which are inbound, outbound. We have channels where which are completely digital, and then those ones which have you know assistance. So imagine a customer who's browsing, I'm starting from left to right, right? A customer who's browsing an iPhone 7, which was just launched, right? You being able to, as a brand, and this could be on any website, right? It could be on a website like Tata Chroma or Snapdeal, or it could be on a retailer website, or it could be on Apple's own website, right? But somebody who's browsing an iPhone 7 and looking at the specifications, your ability to take that behavior and reorganize content in real time is extremely important. The next step, trying to identify these customers, right? So while they're doing what they're doing on the web, are you able to, capture information that will help you identify the customer, and based on whether that's an existing customer or a new customer, reorganize content to them? Let's say this customer actually on step 3, right, abandons your site. He's done his research, or she's done his research, and she goes to a third-party website. Are you able to retarget these customers across third-party websites? At the fourth step, once you've actually retargeted these customers, are you able to automatically, assuming that you have some contact information about this customer, automatically reach out to them, whether it's on online channels like email, or digital channels like email, or things like a call center, to be able to approach these customers and then ask them to either visit store and provide them real-time offers inside the store, right? So in this journey on step 4, we're reaching out to these customers across multiple channels. Then automatically these customers are placed into campaigns where we can confirm appointments for somebody, also provide detailed offers to these customers. And then in the next step, when the customer actually walks into the store, or he's online, we're able to recognize those customers and be able to consistently offer the same. So this customer was actually a previous customer, right? And she had last time bought probably iPhones, the Apple Watch. And we're trying to bundle an offer which includes the Apple Watch this time also. So this entire journey spans across multiple digital channels, offline channels, and it could be third party and social media channels also. So the brand's ability to bring this entire journey together and give a consistent offer is what really matters. Okay? And I wanted to leave in the last slide with just saying that, I believe that experiences are what matters. So while you're presenting the right offers to the right customers at the right time, if it's without the right customer experience and a consistent experience, it's not going to work. So, and that I think is the thought I wanted to leave you guys with at the end of the day. Thank you. Over to you, Jesse.
Thank you so much, Kiran. That was a great set of decks. And I think we're almost out of time, but if there are a couple of questions, if you can post them on chat, we can take them now. And also from a housekeeping perspective, we are putting up the slides on SlideShare, and we will also make the recording available to all of you. So I see a comment from Shivakumar saying that he totally relates to the slide. Any questions on either, or not either, on any of the three slides, let me know. We're almost out of time. I think we have 3 minutes left. Kiran, I think the question is for you.
So I think technology, I think the question, just for everybody's benefit, is what kind of technology stack does one need to be able to do this? I think there is a couple of technologies behind enabling such customer journeys, right, which go across online and offline channels. But I think today we are at such a stage that we are able to marry these technologies together to provide. And let me give you an example, right? Because data is essentially spread across, right? Your web data is separately stored. You have data which is stored in your data warehouse. Data for stores may be stored in your ERP and things like that. But today we have the technology to be able to tap into this data in real time for customer journeys like this and be able to take those real time decisions to personalize every aspect of the customer journey, right? And we'd be happy to share more information. You can write out to me and we can do that.
I think that slide is the one that's the most popular slide. So with this, we're out of time. So I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. And this is the first of a series. We have another couple more planned. And so we do hope to see you all. And some of you have asked for email ID of Kiran. We will share that when we send you the thank you notes as well. So thanks once again for joining us. And okay, there is one more question. Kiran, do you want to take that?
Sure. Let me just get these. I don't think tools, it's a perception that big data tools are expensive or big data tools are going to be. See, the entire idea of big data tools is they are open source, right? Quite a few of them are actually open source. So there's a lot that can be leveraged from these open source technologies to build together, things which can be utilized by every sector, including SMBs.
Okay, so with that, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you all once again.